Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. I'm very excited. We're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions and goal setting today. But first, two things are going on. One, my trusted partner, Joe Kennemore, is not here today. He's feeling a bit under the weather. So send him some good vibes and good thoughts. And secondly, tell me what you're having for lunch. Hey, Natalie. Thanks for joining. Thanks for hopping on so quickly. Tell me what you all are having for lunch today. I have not had lunch today, so I'm not sure what's on the agenda, but anxious and excited to hear what you are having today as we discuss chocolate mint bar. Come on, Natalie. Now you're just teasing. There you go. All right. So today we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions and goal setting. Hey, Deb, crackers and pimento cheese. I'm with you on the crackers, yogurt, ham and potato soup. Ham and potato soup. I don't think I've ever had that. Hey, Andrea. Hey there. Hey, Machen. No lunch today. Looking forward to dinner with the family. Well, I hear you. All right, guys, let's get rolling. We've got quite a bit to cover in quite a short time. So we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions and goal setting. I know at this time of the year, that's a big thing for people. But I do want to also point out that as we talk about this today, this will apply anytime. You can always hit the reset button. It just happens to be that the energy of like the entire world hits the reset button on January 1st, but you can hit that reset button anytime you want. But let's get started here. Apple and string cheese, Tammy, sounds like a girl after my own heart. Apples and cheese. I just had a pear a little while ago. All right, guys. Let me get going here. Bring up our slides. New Year's resolutions and goal setting. How many of you set goals? That's what I want to know. How many of you set goals every year or every quarter or every month or every week? Or some people set goals on a daily basis. Ooh, Italian submarine. There you go. How many of you actually set goals? Comment below because I'd love to hear about your goals and whether or not you're in the habit of setting goals. There's kind of a funny story in my family about goal setting. Let me just share this with you quickly. So, I have been a big believer in setting goals since I attended a Zig Ziglar conference. I don't know how many years ago, and I'm not going to tell you how many years ago, but it was a long time ago. And Zig told us all to get out a piece of paper and write down goals and write down realistic goals, lofty goals, whatever goals popped into our head. But we had to have at least 20 on the piece of paper. And I had never done any goal setting before. So I just whipped out a piece of paper and started writing like crazy goals, crazy things like I'm going to double my income in the next 12 months and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Anyway, a year later, I found that little crumpled up piece of paper when I was sorting through some documents and I opened it up because I had folded it up and put it away. And I opened up the piece of paper and I realized that I had achieved more than half the things on the list, including doubling my income that year. That crazy goal that I just wrote down out of nowhere. And ever since then, I have become a huge believer in goal setting. I think that just putting pen to paper and realizing those things that are important to you and putting those down on paper and bringing that to the forefront of your mind, I think that speaks to your subconscious and says, hey, let's get this done. This is important to me after all. So just the simple act of writing it down is good. Better than that is the act of writing it down and actually putting in some action steps on how to get there. Better than that is writing it down, having the action steps, and actually doing them, right? So that's the next step. So, all right. So in my family, the joke and the funny part of this whole thing is that I have believed in goal setting since that conference with Zig Ziglar many years ago. And as it turns out, the evening my husband was going to propose to me, he started talking about hopes and dreams for the future. And he asked me what my hopes and dreams were. And I said, I don't have hopes and dreams. I have goals. And did you know that if you write down your goals and according to Zig Ziglar, blah, 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 blah. And I rambled on about goal setting for probably an hour. And my poor husband was sitting there waiting to propose. Well, he wasn't my husband at the time, obviously. My boyfriend was sitting there waiting to propose, listening to me ramble on, ruining this proposal because I was all about goal setting and not about hopes and dreams. So it's whenever I talk about goal setting, I think about that story and I think about how wrapped up I was in the whole issue and the whole topic of goal setting. And anyway, it's a funny thing that we still joke about to this day. So he did propose. I did say yes, obviously. And so it was his goal that night to propose. And he definitely got that done. So, all right, here we go. Let me get this bigger on the screen for you so you can see what's going on. And hang on a second. Oh, there we go. So it's important to know where you are right now. And that's what I call reflection. And that is taking stock of where you are. What were your biggest wins in 2021? And the reason it's important to reflect upon what we've done this year, it's important to know what worked for us, what didn't work, what our wins were, what our losses were. And it's okay to have losses. Those are learning opportunities, right? So it's important for us to take stock of all of those things so that we can deal with it, deal with the emotion attached to it, and then move on with a clean slate going into 2022. So I always take this time as a time of reflection. What were my biggest wins in 2021? That's a good question to ask yourself. What did you struggle with? What did you struggle with in 2021? What were the things that you struggled with in your business? Were there things that you could have done better? What were some opportunities that you could improve upon going into the new year? Is balance important to you? I hear a lot of times people talk about balance. People talk about balance in their business. They talk about balance in their relationships. They talk about balance in life in general. This is specifically a hot topic or um, trigger button, if you will, for working moms and trying to figure out, especially entrepreneurial working moms, moms who have their own businesses. And they talk about, not feeling like they're ever in the right place at the right time. They're either worried about their kids and that takes time and energy away from their business, or they're focused on their business and that takes time and energy away from their children. So they strive for balance. And I'm going to come back. Let me make a note. I'll come back and talk about that in a bit, about balance and what you should strive for rather than balance per se. And then where did your stress and anxiety come from in 2021? Besides the fact that we were all living through a pandemic, besides that natural stress and anxiety of our health and in a lot of cases our wealth as well, and in terms of the pandemic impacting our ability to do what we do on a regular basis and earn a living. So for a lot of us, it was not just health, it was wealth that was impacted by that. So where did your stress and anxiety come from last year? And what can you do to change that going into the new year? And then what three things would you change? If you look back on last year, what three things would you change? Would you do more with your family? Would you spend more time with your family? Would you do more with your business? Would you reach out to more people? Should you have kept in touch with your customers better? Should you have been more transparent in dealing with the struggles that you were dealing with in 2021 with your clients or your customers? There are a lot of things that we can look back on and say, I probably could have handled that better. So be super duper honest with yourself in that. So I really believe that you need to know where you are right now before you can chart the course and know where you're going moving forward. All right. Let's talk about dreaming and vision boarding for a second. Um, Where would you like to be in 12 months? And you'll see that little note down at the bottom of the screen says, being brutally honest and answering these questions is the first step to improving your business. It really is. We can all do the kind of smoke and mirrors. Oh, everything's great. Life is great, blah, blah, blah. Or the other way where you're like Eeyore and nothing's good. But let's be brutally honest with ourselves, if not with anybody else, at least with yourself, and where you'd like to be in 12 months, where you'd like your business to be in 12 months. That's the next one. All right. And how about in 5 years? How about some of the longer term thinking? Like, what do you want your business and your life to look like as an entrepreneur? I'm assuming many of you own your own business. I know a lot of people that I talk to that use Mailbox Power they own their own business. They are entrepreneurs. They are responsible for the bottom line. And if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to know when you get there, right? So, what would you like to change about your business? Maybe there are things that you are doing now because that's the way it's always been done. But it's a nice opportunity right now to say, maybe we don't need to do this, or maybe we should do this differently, or maybe I should bring in an expert in this area to help me along with these things. An example of that is accounting. Maybe accounting's not your thing. Maybe you hire someone to do that. Maybe data entry is not your thing. Maybe you hire someone to do that. Maybe even keeping touch with your customers. You have to get a virtual assistant or somebody to help you out with keeping in touch with your customers and clients, something you should be doing. But if you're really honest with yourself, you realize you're not very good at it, right? So that's where Mailbox Power can step in and really help you out a lot with the things that we all should be doing. We know we should be doing them, but we don't always have the time to do it. And then describe your dream business scenario. What does it look like to you to win or to consider yourself or your business a success? Define what that looks like. For a lot of business owners, they're just so busy on the treadmill. They're so busy making things happen and doing what they need to do on a daily basis that they don't stop and look at, what does winning mean to me when I cross this threshold, or when I do this or that? What does winning really look like to me as a person, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner? What does that look like? When will I consider my business truly a success? And if you can answer that question, that's going to help you a lot with your goal setting. All right. So, what are your goals for the next 12 months? And I know I'm kind of going through this quickly, but we only have half an hour together. So, I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as I can. So, what are your goals for the next 12 months? Is it growth in your business? Would you like higher sales volume? Would you like to attract more customers or earn more referrals? What exactly does it look like? Not, yeah, I want my business to grow, but how? How is it going to grow? Is it going to grow because you're attracting new customers? Or is it going to grow because you're selling more to your existing customers? Or is it going to grow because you come out with a brand new product or a brand new service to offer people and they all of a sudden have a new opportunity to buy from you? What does it look like? And what are your goals for the next 12 months in what you're going to do in your business? And then when you're thinking about these things, stretch yourself a little. And that means to go a little bit beyond what you think you can do. Just stretch, because I'll tell you what, nobody's ever going to be sad when they fall short on a stretch goal, right? When they're feeling like they haven't really done it is when they fall short on something they thought was going to be an easy goal. So give yourself your kind of, this is the goal I'm going for, and then this is my stretch goal. If I'm going to push myself a little bit harder, if there are no obstacles, if there are no limitations, if nothing like a pandemic comes along, and hopefully we'll put that behind us rather quickly. But if there were no things coming up, roadblocks coming up at me along the road, what is my business going to look like in 12 months? And what are the goals that I can put forth and go for, really strive for in my business, so that I feel good at the end of 12 months? You want to feel good at the end of next year. And perhaps you feel good at the end of this year because of the way that you handled 2021. And that's great if that's where you are. But if it's not where you are, let's make sure it's where you are by the end of this year. All right. Here's goal setting. We use the SMART system. I'm sure you all have heard of it. It is making sure that your goals are specific, a specific goal, that it's a measurable goal. And when I was talking earlier, when we say, I want my business to grow, that's not measurable, right? What is measurable is, I want it to grow X percent. I want it to grow by this dollar amount. I want my volume to increase. I want my customers to increase by this amount, the volume to increase by this amount or to this amount. But make sure it's measurable so that you know when you get there. Make sure it's actionable. You can't have pie in the sky goals that you can't do anything about. So it might be a goal for you, for someone else to do something for you, but that's not actionable by you or by your team or by somebody in your business. So make sure your goal is actionable. Make sure it's realistic. And I don't love this word realistic, but I do think that it is really, really important to know what you're capable of accomplishing based on what you've accomplished this past year. And again, using that little stretch word to make sure that you push yourself a little bit further in goal setting and push yourself a little bit further in what you can accomplish this year, but also be realistic. We can't just walk around like, oh, I don't have a job, but I'm going to be a millionaire, right? That's not going to work. Be realistic in what you can accomplish. So, step one in that scenario would be get a job. And then, or start a business or be an entrepreneur, whatever that looks like to you. But you have to have some form of income before you can actually, you're not just, few of us win the lottery, right? Some do, but few of us win the lottery. So we have to have an action plan on how to get there. And then, is it time targeted? When do you want to accomplish this? Now, there are longer term goals like that 5-year plan that I talked about earlier, and then shorter term, maybe the next 12 months, maybe first quarter goals. What would you like to accomplish in the next 3 or 4 months? Your 90-day goals. What does it look like for you to get to the end of, say, March? And what have you accomplished in that time period? And it's so funny. I talk to people all the time about setting goals, and they're like, oh, by this time next year, this and this, but they don't set those incremental goals that are going to help them get to the big goal at the end of the year. So we'll talk about that in a second about breaking it down. Okay. So is your goal specific? Is it measurable? Is it actionable? Is it realistic? And is it time targeted? Those are the questions. And here's what you need to do next. After you put that goal that meets those SMART goal requirements, create a plan of action. And that includes determining the steps that it's going to take to get you to your bigger goal. So, if your goal, for example, is to increase the volume that your business does, how will you increase the volume? Are you going to be running sales? Are you going to be attracting more customers? Are you going to, and if so, how are you going to do that? So determining the steps that you need to take to get to that bigger goal will help you. The other thing that will do is let you reward yourself for hitting those small incremental steps, which will keep you on task and on track to achieving that bigger goal. The next one is time constraints. You're trying to anticipate the roadblocks and the obstacles along the way. If you are on time constraints, if you're relying on somebody else in order to achieve a goal, that may be a roadblock. So try to anticipate that along the way so that it doesn't completely throw you off track when it happens, because it's not an if, it's really a when if you're relying on other people. And then prioritize your goals, rank them from most important to least important, moving the time sensitive goals to the top of the list. For example, if you have a goal to attract 25 new customers to your business by February 28th, 2022, let's say that's your goal, right? Then move that to the top of the list because obviously it can't be on the bottom because it needs to happen by February 28th. So that moves it automatically when you have a time constraint, when you have something on the calendar that is sooner rather than later, you need to move that to the top of the list. All right, Machen, my SMART goal is to publish a top selling book on business development within 12 months. To publish a top selling book on business development within 12 months. I'm assuming you mean within 12 months from right now. And what are you going to do to make sure that happens? That's going to involve, if you're publishing a book, have you written it yet? Are you going to be writing it? Have you set aside time each day to write the book? What needs to happen if you're publishing in 12 months? When does the editor need to get that book? When do you need to send it off? When do you need to have all of the things together that you need to have in terms of your outline for the book? You're doing it right now. All right, awesome. That's awesome. That's a very cool goal. As long as you're putting aside time each day to work on it or each week to work on it, as long as you are moving towards and you know what those goals are. When does the publisher need the book realistically in order to publish it within 12 months? Now you're backing up that timeline a little bit, right? So that's again time to take a look and say, okay, is that realistic? I have X amount of hours per day to write or per week to write, and it's going to take me, however many 50,000 words or whatever it is, however many words it's going to be to write my book. And I'm going to do XYZ in order to get there. You need to really hammer that down in terms of how you're going to get there. All right. And the milestones along the way, like you said. So the key is to be consistent. The key is to involve the whole office or team in your goals. And I see this a lot with business owners where they have goals, they have dreams, they have things that they're going to do, but they don't involve the whole team. So the whole team doesn't know what the goal is. And so it's harder and harder. And the executive gets frustrated because the team is working on something that is not consistent with the goal. So if you involve the whole team, the whole office, the whole family, the whole whoever in your goals, you will have a much higher chance of achieving those because, first of all the energy is going towards that goal, whatever that may be. Celebrate, I mentioned this earlier, celebrate reaching the mini goals, the little action items that you have to take along the way. For example, in Machen's example of writing his book and publishing it within the next 12 months, if he consistently writes for, once a week for the next 12 weeks, that should be rewarded. That's one thing that should be rewarded. Those are little mini goals along the way that'll help him accomplish his bigger goal of publishing a book in 12 months. All right, track your results. Data should be your compass. And this is tough. This is tough because sometimes we put a lot of time and energy into a project, uh, whatever it may be. Sometimes we put a lot of time and energy into something and it doesn't get the results that we think it should. Let's use social media as an example. Maybe somebody goes live every single day because that's how they've heard they need to build their business. So they go live every single day and they're going live every single day. And nothing happens. Nobody's watching, nobody's commenting, nobody's doing anything. Let your data be your compass so that you can course correct. Why aren't people engaging with you? Maybe you're not asking questions that help people engage. Maybe you need to change the format of what you're doing when you go live. Maybe you need to go live at a different time of day. Maybe you need to not go every day and go every 3 days. Whatever it may be, you will have a chance to course correct if you track your data and if you let your data lead you in what you should be doing. And then finally, hold yourself accountable. And I've got these things out on the right. The economy's bad. The political climate is bad. I'm doing the best I can. I hear so many things from people. And my bottom line response is be stronger than your strongest excuse. You have to want to do these things. You have to want the goals that you're putting forth. If you don't want them more than the excuses, then you will find an excuse and you will find your way out of it. I was sharing a quote with someone the other day. You can make excuses or you can make progress, but you can't make both, right? So decide what it's going to be. It has to be something that you are willing to hold yourself accountable and not let anything get in your way. All right. I have a few worksheets that may be helpful for you, and I will push those out into the files section of the Mailbox Power user group. So if you are a user of Mailbox Power, I will put these worksheets in that section. They just help you with what exactly you need to do some business goals, even some life goals, and then to be able to track those goals. Now, I will say this. Back in the beginning, I talked about balance and I talked about the women entrepreneurs specifically. I know it happens for men as well, but specifically for women entrepreneurs, balance is something they can never quite wrap their head around, right? It was that scenario that I was talking about where you feel like when you're working, you're taking time away from your family. And when you're spending time with your family, you're missing things at work. Here's what I have a strategy I have employed, and that is to really outline what is going to work for me in terms of the time that I spend with my family being completely dedicated to family and being completely present in that interaction. You won't see me taking my phone to the dinner table. That is my time to spend my time focused on my family. And I actually joked with my husband the other day because he had his phone at the dinner table and was texting. And I was like, hey, I'm going to take your phone away like the kids. So I was joking, of course, but the point was made, right? Let's focus on family. Let's be present for family when we spend our time with our family. And then when we're at our place of work or our business or in our office, let's be completely present for that as well. It's when you're trying to juggle multiple things that you get completely stressed out and feel overwhelmed. And I do realize, I know some of you are out there going, oh, I've got a toddler hanging off my leg, or I've got this going on, or my kids are calling because they forgot their homework and I've got to take it to school and all of that. Yes, try to put some things in place so that you can be more present and focused on what you are supposed to be doing in that moment. The kids that forget their homework, I know you're tempted to run it to them at school, and in some cases you can if you're not busy. But if you're working or in a meeting or busy, guess what? The consequences of that action of not remembering to put your work by the door is the fact that you don't have your homework to turn in today and you're not going to forget it again tomorrow, right? So you put some things in place to help them be successful. And I'm not saying like tough love, be hard, or anything like that. I'm saying protect what you have put in place for yourself so that you're not feeling stretched in a million different directions and pulled and tugged. If you put up those boundaries, this is my work time. This is the time I can bring you things that you forget. These are the days that I cannot bring you things you forget. So you make sure that you're on task and you remember your things, put them by the door, put them in your backpack, put some things in place. And that is another thing. Don't hesitate, especially with family goals and life goals. Don't hesitate to involve your kids with that. Have them set their own goals. This could be a perfect opportunity for you to learn more about what they think is important. Maybe they think it's important that the family goes on a bike ride once a week or once a month. Who knows? But this is the perfect time to kick open that door and help them develop some discipline that is required in life in order to get more long term things accomplished. Kids are very much about instant gratification. And some people never learn to let go of that and plan for the future. So, talk to them about their goals, and then you can use that as a tool as you're going along through life. Hey, little Johnny, you had a goal of, saving enough money for a Lego set. Are you sure you want to buy that candy bar today? Like, you can remind them and teach them about longer term goals and in the feeling that that brings, that boost to their self-esteem and their boost to their self-worth when they're able to plan and do something. And even with really little kids, the goals are just shorter in time. Even with little, little preschool kids, the goals are just shorter with time, because they can't think, long term. It doesn't mean anything to them when you tell them it's going to happen in a month. They're more like, what's going to happen today? So work on some in their mind longer term goals, like things that are going to happen hours down the road or a couple days down the road versus weeks and months. Anyway, I hope that you found this helpful. Goal setting, well, as you probably know from the story that I shared earlier, it's something I am really passionate about. It's something I love to do. I love to brainstorm with people and help them in that respect. So again, I will publish these worksheets in the Mailbox Power user group, and if you would like them, you'll be able to download them there. Otherwise, if you're not part of that group and you'd like to just private message me, I can send them over to you as well in a PDF. All right. And with that, I think I just made it in 30 minutes. So, all right. Good luck. I hope you guys have fun setting goals, and I'd love to hear more about them. If you would like to comment, I'll read the comments as we get out of here. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining me today, and have a fantastic and very happy new year.